today. I think this is probably the number one love-hate topic in the private practice world. You want to talk about websites and you want a website that works really well for you, but typically they're kind of like a necessary evil from our experience that a lot of you feel like a drain and a suck on your soul to have a great website. So our hope today, share a couple things not to do on your website, maybe a couple things to do on your website, simple, actionable, and hopefully not add any more stress into your life on this topic, but walk away with a little bit of clarity on what actually is important and just some common things that from our marketing perspective, easy changes that we can do. And if you kind of like knock it out of the park on these couple things, you're probably good to go. We definitely take the philosophy of websites aren't the be all end all. They aren't incredibly important. And the more emotional time that we put into them versus just maybe some like pragmatic optimization, the bigger the bigger fault that is. So let's just like ratchet it back a little bit and be safe.
Yeah. I think I'd have to get started here on some of the more like technical elements, and this is like my ideal world scenario. I built a lot of websites in the last 10 years. I've built a lot. I've participated in the building of a lot of them. We've done
Hundreds, by the
the
way,
startup.
hundreds.
Yeah, literally, like we've done the startup style, like custom code. We've done build it on a uh, on like one of the web builder. I mean, I built e-commerce site. Like I built everything. Um, I've used contractors. I've built it myself. I've hired a web development company. So like I've done it literally all. And on the technical side of things, if you haven't built a website, or even if you're thinking about maybe making a change here soon, I'm just going to make a quick recommendation. There's three like key things that you need to do to build a website. Number one is have your domain name. Your domain name is going to be that website URL. Please, if you're a small business, do not spend more than $10 a year. Just find a domain name that is going to work or is like something roundabout. You don't have to have like a branded web name and make it exactly your brand or something like that. Don't spend more time, money, or energy on that yet. Your brand is not worth anything yet. So uh, next is your web hosting. Your web hosting is you're just going to want to find something that works fast enough based on the CMS that you're planning on getting. And so I'll explain myself here in a second. So your CMS, your content marketing system or content management system is what it's called, is your management system for the content files for your website. And so the most common one is WordPress, and I recommend it every single time. Use WordPress, not WordPress.com. It's WordPress.org. And so if you don't know how to spin up a WordPress.org website, it's maybe worth learning how to do that. You can do it for free through your web hosting provider.
Yeah.
So just when you purchase your web host, we use sitegrounds.com is the one that we like for WordPress websites. You just go in, tell it that you want to make a WordPress website, and you just click a button and it just makes your WordPress website. And from there, you can apply themes or you can apply, whatever you want to your website files. Okay. So
Yeah.
you just log into your WordPress site from your hosting provider. That's where you spin up the whole website, and then you can add a theme. We use Divi pretty frequently. It's got a really easy visual builder. It costs a little bit of money, but you can basically build a whole site yourself, and it's so well documented that you can kind of YouTube your way to the finish line. So if you're like, hey, how do I do this for my small business and grow it so that it's like a consistent business, you could scale up and have like 30 people, 30 clinicians on the site still and still perform well. That's probably the start to finish like technical components.
Yeah. Just as a quick note, more than 65% of all websites, and I mean all websites, and that's like literally a billion plus websites at this point, um, are built on WordPress. So one of the reasons why we recommend it is because of the accessibility, not just for you, but long term for any other providers, problem solver, SEO, and a lot of other things. A lot of companies like whether it's the layer that like Brighter Vision or Squarespace or Wix or some of those things. Those can get you a pretty website in the short term, and sometimes a great option to have like a short-term visually good looking website, but they can really restrict you on the type of help or the type of vendors you can hire or the type of SEO that you can do. We don't have time to go into all the nuances, but if you're like starting from scratch, you're looking to do a total remodel or whatever, going the WordPress route might just give you the most flexibility. Let's talk a little bit about like the content best practices inside the website for a second. I was talking about this morning in the Therapy Flow newsletter specifically, which was just one simple tip of when you essentially walk into your website, when a potential customer loads your website for the very first time, why that thing is loading, it's a couple seconds, a couple milliseconds potentially, they are asking themselves, am I in the right place? They clicked into your website from Google or from wherever they came from in hopes to find something. So within the first like milliseconds of their eyeballs on the site, it should be our intention to answer the question or to help them see that they are in the right place. If you have ever walked into a store or like a business when you're searching for service and you kind of look around, there's like vague signage and you're like, man, am I in the right place? Like creates a little bit of insecurity. You almost feel like leaving rather than sitting in the tension of trying to figure out, am I in the right place? You don't want that to happen with your website. And the easiest way to avoid that is this is kind of called like the hero header or the hero image or above the fold. There's some different places for what it's called, but you just want a simple text or a simple picture or text or picture. We don't want a big giant paragraph. We don't want tons of information. We want one or two elements that answers the question, like what you do or helps the person see they're in the right place. So this could essentially be like as simple of a statement, EMDR counseling for the state of California. Explore deeper resources here. Could be something as simple as that. We've seen other people say things like, relax, recharge, refresh with, weekly counseling, whatever it is. You could go really heavy with like wordsmithing this in language, but I just wanted to share like simple versions. Let the person know, right? Start your recovery here with, eating disorder help from our team. It's like, okay, if I have eating disorder, I'm probably in the right place. Uh, any other thoughts there, Attilio?
Yeah, we want to remove thinking. So stop making ambiguous statements even if it like sounds nice or cool. So we want to remove thinking certainly from this first statement, and we want to give a reason to consume the rest of the content for the website, right? So remove thinking, remove the ambiguity, and give them a reason to consume more.
Yeah.
And then I think also make it really easy. Like this is not the time to try to like have really cool designs. Um, 9 times out of 10, when you look at conversions for websites that look similar to other websites tend to perform better. And the reason why is because people know how to use the thing. So they don't have to take time to figure out how to use it or navigate. And so find really big websites, especially like really big service provider websites, and look at how you can make your site just a little bit closer to theirs. A trick in like the e-commerce space was go look at Amazon, right? Amazon is the biggest e-commerce selling company, and so you go there and you pull and understand why they're doing the things that they're doing and make it look a little bit more like theirs. They have thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on what works best. People testing things and trying things to see what works best. And so you can do the same thing. Go look at other service provider websites, especially big service providers in your area, for like things even like HVAC or plumbing or stuff like that, and just see what are the elements that they're doing, and how are they positioning themselves to uh, create greater access for their site visitors.
So I just Googled out of curiosity. Some of you will hate me for this. Some of you will be like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I went to betterhelp.com because one thing we know that's true with BetterHelp is they have spent a rather large and absurd amount of money on their marketing. And it works. They acquire clients very easily because of their budgets, their processes. So if you're looking for, frankly, a really good example of this, at least just from a marketing perspective, just go to BetterHelp's homepage, and it's just a very simple. There's a big statement that says you deserve to be happy, and then underneath it says what type of therapy are you looking for, and there's just three very basic, simple cards that clearly link to the other pages that say individual, couples, or teen, and a little arrow pointing down. Very simple, very straightforward. And if someone hits that website, they're very clearly going to be like, oh, right, where it goes. And they have a little bit of their brand statement and some of those things there. But just as a good example of marketing. The other thing that we see that happens a lot is you kind of push out your what we call your call to actions, which is your next step buttons. You really like put those in the weeds or make those not obvious, or you have them in random places or not enough or not like accessible to individuals. And that's just another big mistake to avoid, is to make sure that when that person is ready to take a next step because they've consumed enough information on your page, there's a very clear route to go for it. Typically, sometimes there's like a big one on your homepage, but we see a lot of times if they go into your about page, your other page or whatever, like disappears, or the colors are like not sticking out. So that way it's obvious. It's just, there's not an obvious way to navigate to take the next step, to schedule a consult or to book an appointment or do some of those things. And I'm sure, Till, you have more thoughts on like a good call to action, first step, best practice here.
Yeah, guys, your website's a salesperson, and so like when it comes down to it, someone's walking into a store, your site, and the content, the call to actions, the navigation options that you have are like what a salesperson might have for your practice. And so if an ideal client, like, I need you to imagine this, if an ideal client walks into your office and they're like, hey, I don't know what I'm looking for, I haven't looked at your therapist, I don't know who works here, I just know that I need this service taken care of. I think we need to be very conscious about some of the options that they might have. So there's things like learn more, right? There's things like, do you want to hear about our team? But I think the highest priority item is like, what is actually the next step? So many people are blind about the next step because, quite frankly, mental health services just aren't purchased as frequently as things like chicken or toilet paper or whatever you buy at the store, where you just walk in, you go to this aisle, and it's there always. And so mental health services, it's a little bit more complex and it's not purchased as frequently. And so we need to be very clear about the next step so that they know what the next step is, and then they can determine with more information if the next step is right for them. And so I think we need to be extra clear about what the next step is. And so you know what the next step is, but do they? And then can we make that next step nice or exciting or enticing so that people will be willing to take a habit breaking action, which is sitting down with you, versus tire kicking or procrastinating or changing their mind and doing something else. So we also want to be very clear that um, action is required here. So if
Yeah,
anyone wants to get better, BetterHelp's was you deserve to be happy, something like that. If they want to be happy, that something needs to happen, some action is required, and so we want to make it as easy for them to take that action as possible.
definitely. And I don't know if Attilio will add any more here, but the last one that I just want to talk about is the personalization of your website. All the time, I see a move to keep the website filled with really like either cute cartoons or like super like card stocky photos that like look good, like they look clear, and then more and more people almost trying to make their company seem larger than it is by vaguely talking about their clinicians or vaguely listing things here. And I think that that's really going against the advantage. If you have sub 100 clinicians on your team right now, which is probably going to be almost all of you listening to this, one of the greatest advantages that you have is playing for specificity. And especially if you have like sub 10 clinicians, which is going to be even a larger population of you guys, your ability to create connection and match people to an individual counselor with individual specialties and showcase your in-person, your online office, and just the humanness that you have available in a very human service, a very relational service. That is one of your biggest advantages of still being a small business. Is people want to be seen, they want to be known, and they want to know that they're going to be able to create a relationship with the person that they are working with. And I don't mean like friendship, or I just mean like people want to work with real live human beings and have a line of sight to make that happen. And a really just common mistake that we see is a therapist who doesn't want to film a video or get new headshots or put their team members, make it a priority to have human, live, real life elements attached to your service, attached to your therapy website and the clinicians that are on there. And I think it will just go a long way, because more and more every day I see people opting for not having that available.
Yep. Personalization, guys. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward, and reduce the technical burden here on yourselves. I'll give you guys maybe some encouraging words. This is something that maybe you don't want to do now, but it is helpful to know as a business owner, at least like the bare bones components, and like how things work. And so maybe just some words of encouragement as you're going into this. There's other people who have walked so that you can run, and so go take a look at some of the other people, and keep it simple. You don't have to buy really big, expensive things. Some of the best practices we know have very simple websites, and they didn't have to invest a lot into them. So
yeah, keep it simple, keep it safe. When in doubt, maybe that's where we can just end on, is do less instead of do more, and your website will probably perform better.
yeah.